Hello everybody, in this video we're going to look at a grade calculating program where we have lists as values in dictionaries. Alright, let's get going. In a lot of classes, the way the grade works is like this. You'll have categories, each with different weights. It'll look something like this. And then the teachers will put in the grades that you get, and your final numerical grade is automatically calculated by the grading system. The program we're going to write does this. We'll have 3 categories: homework, labs, and tests. They'll be hard-coded with weights of 20%, 50%, and 30%. The program will ask you if you want to add or calculate, and if you add, it'll add that grade to the grade dictionary. The keys of that grade dictionary are the categories, so either homework, labs, or tests, and the values are lists that have the grades in them, lists. Finally, the grade calculator requires that you have at least one assignment in each category. The program run will look something like this, where the program asks you if you want to add, calculate, or quit. It asks you what you want to do. And if I calculate before having an assignment in each category, it will tell me I need to add an assignment in each category. So I can do that. I'll add a few assignments to the homework category, and then add an assignment to the tests and lab categories. I can calculate the average grade. It'll ask me what I want to do, and I'll say calculate. There's my grade. And when I'm done, I'll type quit, and the program quits. So that's the program we're writing.
So here are the instructions. The beginning part is the same as always. Go to the starter code, which is here, double click it, copy the file name, copy, create a new file in PyCharm, paste it in, update my name, go back to the starter code, select all of it, Control C, go to my new code, paste it, Control V, make one little test print file, run it, and I'm ready to start.
This code has a few functions. Let's get started on function 1. I want to make a function called add assignment. Remember, to make a function, we do def function name parentheses colon. I'll do that now. Def add underscore assignment parentheses colon, and I'm done with that part. Next, I need to put in the parameters, and they go inside the parentheses. Parameters will get information from outside of the function, and they are variables after that. This function has 3 parameters: a grade dictionary, a grade category, which is a string, and the grade, which is a float. So I'll do that now, remembering to give them good names: p underscore grade underscore dict, p underscore category, p underscore score, where p stands for parameter. Important thing here is that when you have multiple parameters, the order matters. Order definitely matters. Finally, for this first part, it says I need to return this same dictionary, so I'll put that in here right now so I don't forget about it later. This code is going to be a lot like Vote Counter and Youth Translator in that it has different scenarios. And when we see the word scenarios, we know it's going to have an if-else, maybe an elif, in the code. So either the category is already in the dictionary, which will be the if, or the category is not in the dictionary yet, and that'll be the else. So let's put that skeleton in there. If p underscore category in grade underscore dict dot keys parentheses, I'm going to use the dot keys here because that makes it super obvious that we're looking at keys. Just remember that it's keys, plural, not key, and don't forget the parentheses after the keys. Of these 2 scenarios, the else is easier to do first. This is the scenario where the key, which is the assignment category, is not in the dictionary yet. How do I add something to a dictionary? It's dictionary bracket key equals to the value. So the dictionary is p underscore grade underscore dict, and the key is p underscore category. The value, though, is a little bit tricky. It's tempting to say that the value is p underscore score, and that's almost right, but not quite. Remember, the values are lists. So I need to put the assignment in as a one-item list, a list of floats, not just a single float. So to make lists in Python, I make them with square brackets. So I have square bracket and then the score, and then I'm done. I should always test. Remember, to test the function, I need to call the function. So to call a function, remember the first step is function name parentheses. Next step is to put the arguments that match the parameters inside of these parentheses. I'll send in an empty dictionary, which means that the key or category isn't in the dictionary yet. I'll make a category and also a score of 100. Remember, the return quits the function and substitutes whatever it returns for the function call. So I'll save this to the dictionary itself, overwriting the dictionary, and then print out this dictionary. And when I run this code, I get the dictionary, the category of the key, and the value is a one-item list. That is what I expect, so we're good here.
So now we're looking to do the if where the key is already in a dictionary. This would be the second or third or fourth homework, but not the first homework. You may wonder how we're supposed to do this. How are we supposed to add items to this list when this list seems like it's hidden away by being the value of the dictionary? Well, we've done this before in the nested data structures video, and here's the answer. But to review how we got there, we know that a dictionary bracket key is a value, and the value in this case is a list. We also know to add items to a list, we use list.append, the list method. And so when we put everything together, we get dictionary bracket key, which is the value, and we stick a dot append at the end of it, and whatever we want to add, we put inside the parentheses, and that will add the new item to the list. We should test it though. If something is not tested, we should consider it to be broken. To test, we have to call the function, so we'll add another assignment of category lab with a different score, let's say 80 this time. We expect it to return a dictionary with key labs and value a list with 180 inside. When we call the function, we get what we expect, and so we know it's good, and then we're done. This code has a second function called calculate grade. I'll first make some space for it, and let's go. Remember, to make a function, we do def function name parentheses colon. So, and that part is good. Next, I need to put in the parameter, and the instructions say that we have one parameter, the same dictionary as the grade dictionary. So we want to give it a good name. Again, the parameters go inside the parentheses. So p underscore grade underscore dict, that describes what it is, and the p stands for parameter. We also have to return the calculated grade, so I'll make a placeholder for that now, just so I don't forget about it. Now, if you look at the instructions, two scenarios. One where we have at least one assignment in each category, and one where we do not. And when we have multiple scenarios, we think of ifs, elses, and elifs. The quicker and easier scenario is to look for the scenario where we do not have at least one assignment in each category. Remember, what we are doing here is looking for the keys. We're looking for the keys of homework, tests, and labs inside of the p underscore grade underscore dict dictionary. They all need to be there before we calculate the grade. So let's program this in. So we're checking to see that homework is not in the dictionary as a key, labs are not in the dictionary as a key, and tests are not in the dictionary as a key. And actually, I think this should be an or. We only need one of these to not be true. And in that scenario, we're going to return 999. So obviously, we need to test this out. If it's not tested, it's broken. To test a function, we call the function. And there's all sorts of ways where this can screw up. Should this not be there? Should this be an or an and? These are all super common ways where this kind of thing gets screwed up. So we have to test. So I have 5 test scenarios here. In test 0, there's no key, and I expect this to return 999. Tests 1 through 3, only homework or labs or test keys. I expect that also to return 999. And in scenario 4, answer 4, there's one of each key. I expect that to return nothing. But I expect it not to return 999. So let's see if that's true. Tests 0 through 3 return 999. Test 4 doesn't return anything. That is what I expect. And this part is good. Okay, so I'm going to do some cleanup here and comment out the tests before continuing. So now we want to do the other scenario where we have at least one grade in each category. Remember, that means if else. We've already done the if, so now we're going to do the else. We'll need to get the average grades for the homework, tests, and labs. Let's do the homework first. To get the average, you need to calculate the sum divided by the number of items. So how do we get the sum of a list of items? Well, you could just use the built-in function sum, but you'll want to know how to do this manually for the AP exam. So our strategy is going to be to start off with a total of 0, loop through the list, and add the item that we're on to that total. And we'll code this like this. So first, we need the list, which is the value when the key is homework. Set that initial sum to 0. Loop through the list, add the item that we're on to that total, and there we go. We have the sum. To get the average, we need to divide by the number of items. We can get the number of items with len, the built-in Python function. And so average is equal to the sum divided by the number of items, and there is the average. Does it work? Well, I don't know. We should test to confirm. So I will run a quick test here, just printing it out. I expect this homework average to be 75, and it is. So I feel good about this part. To get averages for labs and tests, I'll do the exact same thing, except that I'll rename my variables to correspond to labs and tests. I have to be careful here to get my keys exactly correctly, labs and tests, for the Autograder. So here's the code. Hopefully that worked and I didn't mess up any of the variable name changes. Let's test it out. And I think it worked as well. Next, according to the instructions, I need to weight each category. This is a really common thing in teacher gradebooks. There's even a web page that does this for you, and we'll program that now. I need to put in these hard-coded weights, homework of 20%, projects of 50%, tests and exams at 30%. I'll test it out. But lastly, remember that the instructions say I need to return this total average. So I'll return this total average, test the function properly. I'm going to test that it actually returns what I expect it to return. And it does. So at this point, you're good, and you could say you're done. Now we'll finish this code with step 3. We want to make an empty dictionary to start out. This is the grade dictionary. We do that with dictionary equals to the squiggly brackets. We want a big loop where inside the loop, we are either adding grades, calculating grades, or quitting. So when you have a loop that runs for an unknown number of times, you'll want to use a while. So I'll write the while, and we'll use a technique that we used in our previous code, the rock says. I'll make a Boolean that stands for whether or not we want to keep going. Remember, if the expression right after the while is true, the loop runs. So at the beginning, we set our variable keep going to be true so that this will always run at least once. So we'll have the computer ask the user a question, and remember, when we ask questions, we use input. It's going to be asking whether we want to add, calculate, or quit. The easiest of these scenarios is the quit. So let's do that first. The instructions say that if I type quit, I'll quit. So in that scenario, I'll change this keep going Boolean to be false, and the loop will stop running. So let's test that out now. And you can see that when I type quit, the program quits. Next, let's do the add. The instructions say that if I type add, the computer should ask 2 other questions: what type or what category assignment it is, and what is the grade. There's going to be one trick here, and that is for the grade, remember that when we use the input, anything that comes from the input is a string, but we need the grades to be floats. So we will have to convert this grade to a float. To put this grade into the dictionary with a certain category, we're going to call this function. And I'll write it out now, but how it works, remember we have something like a equals to a plus 1, string equals to string plus another string, list bracket item number is equal to the list bracket item number plus something else. In all of these, we do the right side of the equation first, and whatever the right side ends up being, we overwrite the left. So here, we call the function has a return that returns the dictionary back. That's going to overwrite the function call, which will then overwrite the original dictionary with whatever was returned. So let's test this out by adding some things into the dictionary, printing that dictionary, and seeing if we get what we expect. And when we do that, we get what we expect, so this test is good. Lastly, we're going to have the scenario where we calculate the total average grade. Here, we're going to use the calculate grade function. And remember, we have 2 scenarios. The case where we don't have a grade in each category, and therefore it's going to return 999. And the second where we do, and it will just calculate the grade for us. So scenarios again means if else. If it returns 999, we'll print out that we can't calculate the grade yet. And if we have a grade in each category, we'll calculate the grade. So let's test this out, both scenarios. First test, we're going to put in grades, but not one in each category. We'll expect it to return 999 and print out a message that we need to put at least 1 grade in each category. And it does. We're going to put in the homeworks, tests, and labs from before. We expect it to give us 84, and it also does that. And with that, we've written the last section, we've tested everything, and we are done. Alright, so that's pretty much it. Hope that was useful to you. And if it was, please give this video a like and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you next time.